Welcome to this Times Techies webinar. I am Sujit John, and I have with me my colleague Akhil George. The two of us will moderate this discussion that we are having in partnership with IBM. Today, we will discuss security strategies for a hybrid cloud and GenAI future. Indian organizations are rapidly ramping up on hybrid cloud and GenAI, but this trend is also bringing new challenges. For example, a report from the IBM Institute for Business Value finds that 96% of executives say that adopting GenAI makes a security breach likely in their organization within the next 3 years. While hybrid cloud and GenAI technologies are being leveraged to enhance customers' digital experiences and drive operational efficiencies, these innovations are also expanding the attack surface of organizations and increasing their exposure. The other day, there was a CTO come CISO who we were speaking to, and he was telling us that while the CTO side of him wants to offer all these new age technologies to teams in the organization, including all these GenAI tools and all that, the CISO side of him is always worried and is always holding a leash on these technologies. So in today's webinar, we'll delve into how the cybersecurity posture and priorities of Indian businesses are evolving to keep up with their GenAI journeys, especially from the point of view of data and identity protection. And to discuss this, we have three seasoned professionals. We have with us Mahen Gawade. Mahen is business head for the identity and access management practices Inspira Enterprise India. He has over 25 years of cybersecurity focus, especially in identity and access management. He started his career in companies like Patni Computer Systems, Nucleus Software, Genpact, and Accenture. He later spent over a decade in leadership roles in Saudi business machines in Saudi Arabia, and then returned to India to found an identity security company called Algebra Security and Solution, which was merged into Inspira. Welcome, Mahen.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Sujit.
We also have Libesh Babu. Libesh is Associate Vice President at Federal Bank. Libesh started his career as a .NET developer. He has spent over 16 years in Federal Bank, during which he has gained extensive experience in various domains, including business process management, active directory management, and DevOps. In his current role, Libesh focuses on identity governance and access management, ensuring secure and compliant access to organizational resources. Welcome, Libesh.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
And we also have Tushar Haralkar. Tushar has been on this platform before. He is Principal Pre-Sales Engineering Country Lead for Security Software at IBM India and South Asia. Tushar brings over 22 years of experience in the cybersecurity domain. His current role helps clients adopt security solutions infused with generative AI that can predict, prevent, and respond to modern threats across IT environments. Before IBM, Tushar has worked with organizations such as Oracle, Deloitte, and Tech Mahindra. Welcome, Tushar.
Thank you. Thank you, Akhil.
Those who are viewing this can send in questions through the Facebook comment box. Sujit and I will put them to Libesh, Mahen, and Tushar. So why don't we kick this off? Libesh, why don't you help us understand, as part of digital transformation initiatives, we have seen several Indian businesses take big strides in embracing hybrid cloud and GenAI. Can you tell us some of Federal Bank's initiatives to leverage this hybrid cloud and GenAI, and what are the key security considerations that you have to take when using hybrid cloud and GenAI?
Okay. Good evening.
Hi.
Hybrid cloud has allowed Federal Bank to use both the best of both worlds, leveraging the scalability and cost effectiveness of public clouds, while maintaining control and security over sensitive data and applications that reside in the private cloud. Another advantage that hybrid cloud has provided is an option. It has given us an option of re-architecting the aging applications which were functionally and which had functional and capacity constraints. Currently, we have integrated Microsoft Azure, OCI, AWS, GCP as public clouds. These public clouds work in tandem with our on-prem Kubernetes environment to provide seamless customer experience. Then regarding GenAI, the reason we embrace GenAI as it helped us offer a range of innovative applications and benefits to the customer. Federal Bank was in fact the first bank in India to use GenAI platform to improve search functionality on its corporate website. This allowed customers to ask questions and get a human-like responses instead of hyperlinks. Then we have our own AI personal assistant, which goes by the name Fedi. It uses dialog flow to translate text input into structured data and respond in a conversational tone. The main output that we got from GenAI was in the credit underwriting section. Bank uses AI and ML algorithms to assess customer eligibility for pre-approved loans. This enhances the lending efficiency and personalization. The main goal of banks' main goal of using GenAI platform is to provide a secure, tailor-made, and intuitive banking experience for its customer. Then regarding the security, so we have for hybrid clouds, we have created a cloud security baseline, which help us in implementing the right set of security tools based upon the services which we use in the particular cloud environment. Major challenges faced by the bank were with respect to the security, compliance, and data privacy. To mitigate this, we have taken few steps. First, we always go for single tenancy instead of multi-tenancy. The data in transit and data at rest is always encrypted, and the encryption key is always provided by the bank. Then regarding the GenAI, see, the data managed by bank is mostly PII, and it becomes imperative to safeguard sensitive data and mitigate risk and ensure compliance with regulatory requirements. While implementing GenAI, we ensured that the 5 pillars to trustworthy AI, that is explainability, fairness, robustness, transparency, and privacy. The data set for learning is always provided by Federal Bank. No learning is done from the data set that is available on the internet. What it does is it avoid any biased information. Apart from this, we have taken measures to ensure data privacy and confidentiality. Cybersecurity threats and vulnerability assessment gets done to mitigate any security risk. Then bank has prioritized explainability and transparency by implementing mechanism which trace and audit the AI-driven decisions. What it does is it provides a clear explanation to the stakeholders, and it ensures the accountability of algorithmic outcomes.
The GenAI that you used for, you said the search function, and what did you say? Freddy, is it? Freddy.
Freddy, yes.
What, multiple languages or English or Malayalam?
No, it does multiple languages, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yes.
And it's working well. I mean,
yes.
Using it a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, we are trying to. It was done for customers. Now we are trying to incorporate this for employees as well. Because see, for employees, we have RBI circulars, then circulars which are given to us by the departments that helps in the day-to-day working of an employee. So from that angle as well, we are trying to integrate Fedi into from customer to we are migrating it to the employee front as well.
Okay. No, very interesting. Mahen and Tushar, I mean, following up on this, how do you see the hybrid cloud and GenAI landscape evolving? What is the role that technology partners like IBM and Inspira play in securing businesses? I mean, the hybrid cloud and GenAI journeys of businesses. Who wants to start? Mahen, go ahead. Or Tushar, whoever.
Yeah. So I can go ahead. So for the audience who are probably new to hybrid cloud, let me explain, what is hybrid cloud. So hybrid cloud is a combination of your private, public, on-premise, and with the rise of IoT and OT nowadays, edge computing also. In fact, if I had to just give a few examples, simple examples of what is public cloud, it is like if you are commuting in a bus, right? You just pay for the seat that you will have in the bus, right? It's a public cloud. For a private cloud, it is like you're buying the car. So you own it, you manage it, right? And hybrid is something you basically have best of both the worlds, right? Where you get the feeling of a car, like I rented a car, like in my recent US trip, I got a BMW X7 rented, and I got the feel of that. But I only paid for that experience, right? I didn't have to buy a BMW. So that's the best of both worlds, which is hybrid, right? To put it in a layman's word. So what I am also seeing now today with a lot of initiatives going around community-based cloud. What that means is, especially the community like banking is coming together to form a cloud, right? So all the PSUs will basically integrate with that community cloud, right? That is an initiative I am seeing today as part of the community cloud. The other is, I think, Libesh already mentioned, the federal bank is a classic example of hybrid cloud, because federal bank is on-premise, they are on multiple public clouds. So it's a classic example of public cloud, a classic example of, hybrid cloud. I think the evolution of hybrid cloud is here to stay. From IBM standpoint, IBM vision is very clear that hybrid cloud and GenAI is where the future is, right? And when I talk about GenAI, I think GenAI has become an integral part of our day-to-day online life, right? In fact, our mobiles, everywhere, AI is just infused, right? And I think I would like to give an example of the GenAI use case that we are using at IBM itself. So we have something called Ask HR chatbot, right? Where initially, when I used to transfer an employee from one location to another, or maybe I had to change his department or a manager, it was a tedious process to log into the application. I have to really find which menu it comes under. I had to literally take a guide and do those steps, right? Now, what I have to do is I just have to click on that Ask HR chatbot. I have to just say, transfer employee. They will ask me which employee you want to transfer. I select that employee, then it will say which manager you want to transfer, this manager. That's it. And done. Behind the workflows, everything is automated, right? So I think GenAI really is something which we have adopted at IBM, and then we see our customers adopting it as well. I think Libesh gave a very good example of that as well for the clients, and they're planning to replicate it for their employees as well. I think if we talk about the security considerations that needs to be taken care both for hybrid cloud and GenAI, I would say from a hybrid cloud perspective, the important aspect is data and identity, right? Why data? Because everyone is behind the data, right? And this can be any kind of data, personal, demographic, financial, all kind of data, right? And data is the new oil. Data is the lifeblood of every enterprise, right? So you need to protect that. The challenge happens, especially with the adoption of hybrid cloud, is now the data is not just on-premise. It has expanded on-premise and on multiple clouds. So what happens because of that? There is lack of visibility. Now, where is my crown jewel? Where is my sensitive data residing, right? So how do you solve that challenge? That is where you need to have controls like discovery and classification, which will help you to gain that visibility. Where is your crown jewels, or where is your sensitive data residing? Once you get visibility into that, then obviously you start protecting that, right? You start having protecting controls like doing a real-time monitoring of that data in terms of who is accessing that data, from where they're accessing, all of that, who, what, where, how, when, all of that, right? And then obviously making sure, as Libesh also mentioned, they're making sure that the data at rest, data in use, and the data in motion is encrypted. Because the second challenge is the attacks like ransomware, right? So even if an attack happens, you're making sure that the data is encrypted. The data is of no use to the hacker because it's completely encrypted. And as Libesh mentioned, the key is safe with the bank, right? So as long as the key is safe, the data is absolutely of no use to the hacker, right? The third part of the challenge is, how do you adhere to the privacy regulations like GDPR, or in India context, DPDP Act, right? How do you do that? And that's where you need to have controls around making sure that you adhere to those DPDP Act and the different privacy regulations as well, right? So broadly, these are the three things, three challenges, and the controls that you need to have respectively for that. The second aspect very quickly is on the identity side of it. Now, who is going to access this data? It is going to be the identity, right? You will have different kind of identities like employees, contractors, vendors, customers, but there are bad guys. There are bad identities also who are trying to access this data. So you need to make sure, you need to have controls which will make sure that only authorized users have access to their data. which again goes back to the principle of security, right? Which is the CIA tried: confidentiality, integrity, and availability, right? So you need to have controls around this to make sure that your data and identity is secure. So I think that is one aspect. And very quickly, I just also want to cover, when we talk about Gen AI, right? We've seen the benefits. I think Libesh did speak about it, right? We've seen the benefits that AI can bring. But when you look at it from a cybersecurity lens perspective, a lot of benefits AI can bring to cybersecurity. For example, you feed a lot of data, right? And then you want to do an analytics on top of that and find out what are the outliers, right? You can easily find that out using AI. If you want to do automation for repetitive tasks, you can do that. If you want to do a case summarization, like a lot of security incidents have happened and you want to quickly summarize what is the problem, it can do that, right? So a lot of benefits we know AI can do for us. But the thing is what AI can do to us, which is the impact, right? Which is security for AI. So one is AI for security. We've seen the benefits. The second aspect is security for AI, because AI itself also needs to be protected, right? So from that perspective, I think we all know the phishing attacks. So if you see the recent IBM cost of a data breach report, it says identity is the #1 attack vector, right? And social engineering attacks like phishing is still on the top, right? Earlier or today, we see that phishing emails are very easy to be detected now. We know the English that happens there, right? But now with AI, I've literally seen the kind of English that it can prepare. It is very difficult for a person to detect that it is a legitimate email or not real, right? Then we know the deepfake videos that are going on, right? We know the attacks like hallucination attacks, right? If there is an attack like prompt injection, right, where we know social engineering happens to humans, but now in this case, social engineering attacks can happen to AI also, where it can fool AI saying that, I want this particular information. It will try to sort of simulate some scenario where AI will end up giving that information and get trained, right? So prompt injection is a very, very impactful attack that can happen. And the other is I would say the hallucination attack, right? So what happens is, in case of banking, we know, right, money will be at stake. But imagine in case of healthcare industry here, right? If somebody wants a medicine and the trained data of GenAI is manipulated, a life can be at stake, right? A life can be at stake. So I think it's really going to be dangerous to make sure. It's really going to be dangerous if the trained data itself is tampered. Now here we are talking about the trained data being tampered, but the LLM models, the large language models which it uses, can also be tampered, right? The integrity of that can also be tampered, because imagine these models are typically taken from open source, right? Now we all know the supply chain attacks, right? If we take this from trusted source, is fine, but by mistake, if a LLM model is taken from untrusted source, it will have malware injected in it, right? It will have all those models which are trained wrongly embedded into it, and it goes into the models as well, right? So what we ask, the output that we're going to get is basically going to be misleading, right? So net from a Gen AI perspective, I think what is important is, to summarize, you need to have a control which will secure your data at rest, in use and in motion. You need to secure the model also, which is the LLM models, large language models, or the foundation models. And then you need to secure the data in use also, which is basically what is inferencing. So after the model is trained and tuned, ultimately it will be giving you some output, right? So how do you make sure that that output is authentic, right? So I think in summary, this is what we need to make sure from a security controls perspective for Gen AI.
It's a very wide surface that is vulnerable, so you need to protect each of them. Yeah, especially like the common cloud. They are actually thinking banks are coming together to create a common cloud.
Yeah. Especially
what benefit?
So benefit is that there are this data residency issues,
Okay.
data localization and all of that, right? So a lot of common aspects, and then they are trying to build that community cloud. There's a big project going on. For confidentiality reasons, I may not be able to disclose much, but then yes, it's a very big initiative that is going on, especially for banking and that too for PSUs.
I see. Interesting.
Yeah.
Mahen, go ahead.
And moreover, to add in a simple word, that what Tushar has said, right? But on these two aspects, so at the end, cloud is another computer which is outside your control at the end, right? Means I'm taking it from an old era where I start my career in 1998 with mainframe, then it comes to distributed. And the security principles remain the same, correct? Defense in depth, your protection should be closest to your asset. So old days, if something happen or a breach, what the maximum thing you can take it, pull out the network, correct? And you can stop that. Now, when your asset was moved to a cloud where you do not have, initially when it was with me, the asset, I mean either a data or any assets, right? Which is an important classified as Tushar says, correct? But we have a layered security. You used to have a firewall before. You used to have an OS level security. You used to have a network access control, right? And you can control, these are the different controls till it brings to your data or the accessing of your data, right? Now when it moves to a cloud is not something which is, it's another computer which is outside your control. So it's not more about only a security, okay? It's about an assurance, because IT is a custodian of a data, right? The owner of the data is an application owner. So if I'm protecting a bank account balance, the owner of that data is that bank owner. How would I give an assurance to him if now those controls are not in my hand? Okay, so when I say usually, okay, now it's become like the enterprise boundaries are going, and now it's become an identity as a firewall for you. That's where, because that's a control which you can give it to the user, and an assurance that how you are protecting those assets which are moved to the cloud.
So when a GCP or AWS or Azure says we are very secure, etc., that's not enough.
No cloud provider can take a responsibility of security. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tushar, right? So security responsibility will always lie with the owner of the data, and we have to help them. That's on the cloud. So, and that too become very complicated when we are moving into an hybrid cloud.
Yeah. So you're right. So I think what happens is that generally these cloud providers will have some kind of native security, right? But what happens is because it is native, right? For some reason that cloud provider is hacked, right? So data is also compromised, right? So what organizations are doing is they are basically using this encryption key management, which they can manage centrally. So basically bringing your own key, right? So that the key is safe with them, right? So even if the cloud provider is hacked, they cannot do anything with that data because the key is safe with them, right? So one of the initiatives that we are seeing, especially for the organizations who are on multiple clouds, right? Organizations are preferring to centrally manage the keys and own the keys on premise rather than keeping it everything on the cloud, right? But yeah, to the point that Mahen raised, right? Security is not complete responsibility of the cloud provider, because we have those different elements in cloud, right? Which is SaaS, IaaS, and PaaS, right?
Exactly.
What you subscribe to, it depends on that, I would say.
Okay. Yeah. Mahen, go ahead.
Sure. So
I had a slight doubt. You mentioned ransomware before, Tushar, and it sounded like if you just encrypt your data, all problems solved. So why do we keep seeing so many of these ransomware attacks all over the world?
So we cannot stop ransomware attack from happening.
But doesn't the encryption then solve the problem?
Encryption. So what we are saying is that, you make sure that you have those controls in place. Okay, you have encryption in place so that tomorrow if ransomware attack happens, see how ransomware attack happens, right? So if ransomware attack may happen through a phishing email or through a privilege escalation attack, right? Now ransomware is typically a third party process which will try to access your data, right? Now imagine if you harden your laptop or your server by saying that only this authorized user or only this authorized process or only this authorized application will have access to the data. Even if there is a third-party process which comes in, it is not going to have access to the data. So that is one way of doing it. The other way of doing it, if you do not have those controls, but you're making sure your data is completely encrypted, even if the ransomware attack happens, they will steal the data, but it is of no use to them because the key is safe with you, right? I've seen organizations also implementing two-factor or multi-factor authentication for that, right? Because that also helps you to make sure that you have a proper access control to access your sensitive data. So obviously you cannot prevent these attacks, but you can make sure that even if that happens, right, your data is safe.
You're basically disincentivize.
And
It's not antivirus. Yeah, antivirus are signature based, right? They know the pattern, right? Now it is everything is behavioral based, right? You cannot now detect based on certain signatures because hackers have managed to bypass that, right? So everything is, you would have heard about the behavioral analytics and all of that, right? User behavioral analytics. So everything is behavioral based, and it is beyond that. So organizations are having solutions like DLP, right, on their endpoints, right? But on the server side, which is on the server side, you need to have controls because that is where your critical data is also residing, right? So the biggest challenge today is, we all will agree, is the insider threats, right? Basically the privileged users, right? They have access to the keys of the kingdom, I would say. They have access to entire data, right? So you would want to protect your data with them also, right? For those kind of users also. While yes, outside attacks will happen, but insider threats are also, equally getting more and more we are seeing, right? So this kind of controls helps you. As we all know, there is no such thing as 100% security,
100%,
right? But yeah, but then you need to make sure you have these basic controls in place.
One more point to add to that is, I mean, this issue of ransomware comes into picture when we go for a SaaS model, because most of the vendors, they do not know how to program wherein which the data in transit and data at rest can be encrypted. So this creates a lot of trouble for us.
Is it? Okay.
And
Mahen?
means if you think, it's a simple logic, right? Actually, means all innovations are actually made for a good thing, right? Include whether it's a nuclear weapon or internet or an encryption, right? But anything new comes, those can be handled by both the guys, the bad guys and the good guys. Okay. So an interesting thing, and I always say to my new generation that as we are talking on a GenAI, I remember I was being graduated in 1998 in bachelor's in computer, and my 7th semester, there was a subject called artificial intelligence. Okay. You can check the Pune University records. Means if 1998 till 2021, I never heard this word. Okay. What have been taught to me in school or so-called my engineering? Where is the AI till that time? Okay. You know, what happened is AI becomes so simple now after ChatGPT version 4 that anybody can use it, right? Now the one which Tushar has said, that the deep fake and all, correct? Now it's very easy. See, when you can make a cinematic video shooting on your iPhone, which maybe an Yash Chopra may be doing and 10 years before with so many tools, right? See the power of technology. Now, this power of technology can be used in both ways, right? In a wrong way, the way nuclear has been done, or the way encryption has been done. Now, the encryption was done for good thing, right? Now, what's the basis of ransom for it? And the principles of the security remains the same. Okay, now the threats which AI have created, you need an AI to fight back with it. Okay, so there will be always a good AI and bad AI, and it's not going to stop anywhere. At the end, it's not I usually say that security doesn't mean the building a tallest wall in the world, right? It should be taller than your neighbor. That's the first rule which we have to follow. And as a solution provider, while we are discussing different types of solution available, at the end, when it comes to a solution, it is always, see, you cannot have an chemotherapy given to somebody who has cold and flu. You got what I mean? Because there are existing technologies, existing process, existing people in any organization, which are already immune to the threats which are there. Okay. Now, what we need to do is to enable them with an extra which is required, right, to fight with a new trend. You got what I mean? Let's say a bank, somebody checking in signature. Now, using an AI, how easy to create or duplicate your signature? But the person working for 20 years in a bank who is checking the check, right? Have you seen that? By checking the paper quality also, or the signature type or style, they already have that immune to avoid the fraud and all, correct? Now, through AI, if bad actors can replicate those attacks, means it's very easy, right? With a synthetic document to be created, as Tushar says, means or maybe a video to be created, maybe Modi ji talking in Malayalam language, right? Very easy, means you can. So how we can bring that aspect of a good AI to fight with a bad AI? You got what I mean, right? So that's a balance about you have to maintain from a solution, and we need the technologies to be supported and a strategic one who are doing, means encryption. Now, the passwords are encrypted, or the password length should be this, right? What basis that you should change your password every 90 days? That based on the computing power which used to be in those days. Now we are talking about quantum computing power. I was attending a webinar with IBM, and they were talking about a quantum computing power. Whatever encryption you are used, they can crack that encryption in maybe in hours, right, Tushar? Maybe. So IBM and these companies are making that encryption algorithm change, which can withstand even a quantum computing, right? So as I said, the right solution, your protection should not be too high to your asset value, because at the end, it should not be you're building a wall and in between your budget has been finished and remaining doors are open. So your security should balance with your protection, and it should not add an extra complexity with your user experience, because the day you add a complexity, they will start bypassing it. So your solution should be adopted easily by your user. That's a little on that.
This next question is for all of you. We've touched on quite a few of this, but if you want to add something, the recent IBM report on cost of a data breach mentioned that phishing and stolen or compromised credentials were the most common initial attack vectors in India. With identities becoming the #1 attack point for cyber attacks, how do you view the importance of having identity and access management, security controls in the context of everything we have just discussed? Libesh, you want to start first?
Yes. Implementing a Gen Z IAM system enhanced with GenAI capabilities offers revolutionary and transformative benefits.
Oh, what is that? Gen Z?
For next generation.
Okay. What did you say? Gen Z what?
Gen Z IAM, anti-access management.
Okay.
Yeah, for banking, an AI enhanced IAM streamlines customer access, helps in fraud detection in real time, ensures compliance with mandatory regulatory standards, and thus enhancing the customer trust, experience, and operational efficiency. Also, by integrating AI with IAM, we can adapt to evolving threats, learn from the user behavior, and provide proactive security measures. This particular convergence represents a leap towards smarter, more secure, and more responsive IAM solutions. One significant aspect of AI-driven anti-access manager is the identity governance and administration. That is IGA. AI-driven IGA uses artificial intelligence to oversee, evaluate, and govern identities and their access within the organization. IAM and IGA, when they are AI-driven, they enable the organization to tackle the complexities associated with identity management and entitlements problem. With AI-driven IAM, processors now can run autonomously and continuously adapt to changing user access patterns. Now, this reduces the manual effort and increases operational efficiency. AI-driven IGA ensures that the user identities are effectively governed and access privileges are aligned with the security policies. By analyzing the user behavior, detecting anomalies, generative AI helps counteract threats and security weaknesses. Its integration into IAM enables us, the bankers, to monitor access policies and identify possible internal threats and helps to take preemptive action against risk. That's about.
Anybody? Tushar, you already spoke about this.
Yeah.
You want to add anything at all?
Yeah. So I think how important is identity and access management? I think one of our client actually gave this quote, right? And I would like to share that. In that quote, everything comes in, right? He mentioned hackers don't break in; they log in with valid credentials. So now gone are the days. so in this one quote, the importance of identity is clearly highlighted, because gone are the days when hackers used to break in and then they used to exfiltrate the data. Right now they just through social engineering or phishing, they just steal the credentials. That's it. And when you log in with a valid account, nobody is going to question, right? Neither the application nor the organization, because it's a valid credential, it's a valid OTP, right? You'll be allowed to log in. So that is the biggest challenge today. And what we see is identity is the new perimeter now, clearly, because I think since the COVID days, right, we all are living in a perimeterless world, right? And especially where we transact online, right? It is very difficult to know if it is Sujit or is it somebody else. Very difficult to know, because most of the time your credentials are going to be valid, right? So I think the importance of identity and access is going to be very, very important, because if you look at two aspects of identity, right? One is your employee identity, which includes your contractors, vendors, right? The second could be a consumer identity, right? And the third, I would say the third could be a privilege identity. So broadly, these are the three category of identities, right? Now, you will have solutions or so-called tools to protect each of them, right? The biggest challenge that we are seeing today is because organizations will have different tools from different vendors, right? For example, they will have a tool which will protect only their employees. They will have a separate tool from a separate vendor which will only protect their consumers, a separate tool which will only protect their privileged users, right? Nobody will have entire thing as IBM, right? So what happens is, and this is the reality of the state, right? So how do you get visibility of a single user? How do you get the holistic view of a single user, right? That is always going to be challenging, right? And that is where we see that even if you have invested in identity and access management controls to protect your employees, your consumers, or privileged users, you need to have a simplified identity and management platform that will give you three things. Okay, one is it will help you to apply consistent access policies across all your identities, right? Number two, it will help to bridge the gap. So currently the identity solutions are working in silos, right? It will help to bridge the gap in terms of giving the frictionless experience to a user, right? Because that same user can be an employee, he can be a customer, he can be a privileged user also, right? So how do you give frictionless experience like passwordless to that particular user, right? The third could be there could be a lot of legacy applications which are monolithic, right? Which are not integrated with these tools. So what do you do about those applications? Because those applications are business critical applications, but they are legacy. Enterprise wants to continue with those applications. So how do you make sure that those kind of applications are also taken care of as part of this simplified identity management platform? So I think these are the use cases that organizations or every business needs to look at, irrespective of whether they have invested in identity or not, right? I think those are a few of the things that I would like to mention. Mahen, you would like to add anything on this?
Yeah, just the same thing. And usually we say as a principle, right? The humans are the weakest link in the security. And
Yeah.
as Tushar mentioned, that why everybody behind social engineering, because that's the easiest thing to compromise, correct? Means where will I, as a hacker, where will I run? Will I try to run behind your firewall or network access control or your EDR, XDR solution? The easiest thing is I will try to do a social engineering on your user, correct? Because they are the weakest one. Now, when it comes as a solution, right, they are not culprit. They are actually a victim by which an attacker gets an entry to your network or to your access. Now, as a solution, how we empower them? Okay, passwords are vulnerable to get cracked, right? Means it's a password that it can be shared, it can be cracked, correct? It's by default vulnerable. Is that end user problem that you are giving him that only choice, correct? So you should, as a security professional, we should give them a choice that, okay, these are the different solutions. So maybe as Tushar says, another solution based on the protection required as a second factor, that's something which they have, a token send on their mobile SMS, correct? Or maybe something which they have, even the biometrics. But each of these solutions has a limitation, and those needs to come to a level which has easily adopted. One thing we cannot miss being a solution provider, that business is important, right? And we should not be creating a wall or a obstacle for doing them in business. Somebody who is working in a finance department, somebody doing in a HR, right? So their core business is not security. Okay, we have to provide them a solution which they can easily adopt and accept it, because if it is not accepted by that user, he will find another way. So that's very important to make it an easy or easily adoptable for them and to make them secure.
Yeah. You need to give them solutions that they can easily accept. Absolutely. Just changing track a little bit, the DPDP Act, the Digital Personal Data Protection Act, is another here. I mean, companies have to implement it, and those, I think the rules of the act will be notified anytime now. What stage are you in terms of the DPDP Act? This is for Mahen and Libesh. What stage are you in terms of the DPDP Act readiness, specifically for user and applications consent management use cases? Libesh?
Okay. Yes, I'll take that. So when it was formulated, the DPDP Act, the Digital Personal Data Protection Act, is set as a foundation for data security and privacy in the banking sector. So as soon as the directives were published, the first thing that Federal Bank did was to build a dedicated team to oversee the implementation. The team is currently doing the gap assessment. Also, we are on the lookout for the tools that will help us in the implementation. As you mentioned, one of the major talking point of the DPDP Act is the consent management. So consent management is about ensuring that customers have clear choices to agree to or decline the collection and use of their personal data on websites, apps, and other properties. It also requires banks to document and securely store the information. So usually what happens is, I mean, earlier when the customer opens an account, we tell him, okay, sign over here. Now we'll have to tell him where the data will, for what all purposes, that it would be used for sending alerts. It would be used maybe by the insurance company for insuring that particular loan. So if the customer says that okay, he's not okay with it, then we are no choice but to say okay. I mean, the choice is of customers. Now, to foster a culture of privacy, Federal Bank is looking to adhere to two key principles. One, that only collect, use, retain, and disclose personal information that is clearly necessary to achieve our goals. And secondly, to provide comprehensive training to those handling this information regarding the value of privacy protection while implementing monitoring mechanism to ensure accountability. Mahen, you want to add on to it?
I have a limited knowledge, to be honest. I want to pass it. But for me, DPDP and all are related to privacy, okay, which are, and even I'm studying the privacy concepts and all, but it's more related to the culture, right? And usually if you see, the privacy definition changes, right? You talk to somebody in US, okay, the way their privacy, maybe HIPAA, for example, right, and health. So knowing my health information to somebody is in privacy in US. Here in India, maybe I have a stent in heart, it's become a pride, right? Means that doesn't mean and privacy for an Indian person. Maybe in Middle East, the privacy definitions are changed. And that too, I heard that privacy is a fundamental rights in India. I am still studying that, how the things are done. But I would like to pass on that question to Tushar, maybe.
Tushar, do you want to add anything?
Yeah. I think Libesh covered it. I think just to add on to that, I think while DPDP Act covers a lot of aspects, but the key part that it mentions clearly is the consent management part of it. Now, if you see, I mean, we as humans, right, when we log into any application or register, right, it will ask you to give a consent. Now, you have to explicitly say that I want to subscribe to paperless billing. I don't want any marketing campaigns, right? So you explicitly mention that, right? Even if you are ordering something, right? You explicitly mention that, yes, you will be using this, my home address only for delivery. You will not be using my residential address for any marketing purpose, right? So I think that is becoming very, very important with a DPDP Act, right? So it's not only about sharing an email. With whom that email is going to be shared is also going to be very, very important as part of consent management. I think it's really going to be very important because the different elements that they have defined in DPDP Act, which is the data subject, which is like you and me, then the data fiduciary, which is the organization, right? Both are responsible, the data subject and the data fiduciary, for their own data, right? So if let's say you're collecting some data, let's say for example Federal Bank is collecting my PII data, personally identifiable information, then they may be processing that data with some third party. For example, Aadhaar card, right? Now, there has to be an identity proofing, which also has to be done, which typically they would be doing through some third party. Now, what if that third party is hacked or compromised, right? Who is owning the responsibility? It is still lying with Federal Bank, right? As a data fiduciary. So what, in summary, we are looking from a DPDP Act perspective is collect as much as minimal data as possible as part of the collection phase. Then when you process that data, make sure that the third party is aligned with all the regulations in terms of protecting the data. And then when you store that data, it has to be encrypted, right? And then finally, you need to have the complete audit trail of who was the user, what happened, entire audit trail, so that from a privacy regulation perspective, like DPDP Act, you can show to the auditor or show to the government that, yes, we do comply to these regulations. So I think that is what I would like to add, Sujit.
Okay. There's this question from Bhaskar Godbole. I don't know, Mahen, you want to take that? How can organizations ensure that AI does not overpower the human actions or decisions or takes incorrect decisions? Anybody wants to have a go at that?
Yeah, Yeah, I think I can take a shot at it. I think that is where, I mentioned that security for AI becomes so important, right? Because AI can be trustworthy only when it will achieve those 5 pillars, right? Which Libesh mentioned, right? Explainability, right? The robustness, privacy, right? Then fairness, right? All those aspects are very important, because if AI is giving us certain information, it should also be able to explain us the rationale behind it, right? For example, if I go to a doctor saying that I have some symptoms of my eye being red, or my nose is running, right? He may say that most likely that you have an allergy, right? But if he says that you're I think I need to treat you for your leg, there seems to be some problem with your leg, obviously it doesn't make any sense, right? So I think from that perspective, you need to be able to explain the rationale behind the statement that AI makes. Second, it should be fair, right? It needs to have the ability to be fair. It should not be biased, right, by any race or religion or anything, right? So, and then most importantly, the security and privacy aspect of it. It should be able to make sure that you have the necessary controls, because I was talking about few of the attacks that can tamper the integrity of the model itself and the data also, right? If that is done, then obviously you cannot rely on AI. Then we as humans cannot overpower. So I think AI without HI is not possible. So it will always complement. You cannot 100% rely on AI. There always has to be a human element to it, but you can always improve the AI by adding these 5 pillars which I mentioned.
Okay.
So just to add on to it,
responsible AI.
Sorry. Yeah, to add on to it, see, it helps that from where the LLM is getting generated. So in our case, in Federal Bank's case, the data set is always provided by Federal Bank. So we know what is inside the data. We make sure that it is not tampered. And secondly, what we need to do is audit every time. I mean, every now and then we need to audit the AI-driven decisions. So that helps.
Okay.
Typically for the enterprise, I think we can still have those controls as Libesh, but typically for the consumers who are like using Chat GPT, right?
Yes, we don't have any control.
Very difficult, right? Because we don't know what open source LLMs they're using, and if they download it from untrusted source, then what comes out will also be misleading. Absolutely. So I think I would say those 5 pillars which we spoke about is important to get a trustworthy AI.
Libesh, Federal Bank is a client of IBM, right? IBM Security. Yes. Can you tell us how IBM solutions are helping you?
Yes. So we started with the security tool in 2013 when it was named ISAM, IBM Security Access Manager. The initial goal was just to achieve single sign-on facility capabilities, just that. But now we have integrated IBM Security Verify Access Solution. It has been renamed ISVA. So now we are able to adopt important controls like identity within overall zero trust security strategy. We are able to ensure that only the right user has the right level of access to the right data for the right reason. And it has helped us in balance security with user experience, with password-less authentication using FIDO passkeys, QR code, single sign-on, and risk-based multi-factor authentication. Now, going forward, we are looking to extend IBM Security Verify Access Solution for identity governance and administration as well. So it helps to automate the joiner, mover, or leaver process, and helps to achieve the audit and compliance requirement. And apart from that, we are planning to extend ISVA to protect consumer of internet and mobile banking. So from employee perspective, we are now moving to, we are extending the facility to customers as well. The key use case would be to leverage adaptive access technology within ISVA that will help to deliver smarter authentication using AI-powered risk engine. So what happens is when a user attempts to log in, ISVA would feed the AI engine as much context as possible. from details on their device, location, to when and how they normally log in. So it calculates what it does. It calculates a risk score and automatically adapt the login process accordingly. What it does is for higher trusted users, it could offer a friction-free login, and for the riskiest, challenge them for the passwordless method like passkeys. One of the use cases to be implemented in bank for workforce for employees is the use of chatbots to request for additional accesses. Now, embedded AI-powered analytics engine also helps to make informed data-driven decisions while reviewing and approving the accesses.
Are there efforts being made to attack you? Can you figure out if somebody is trying to attack?
We have to be preemptive on that. The domain which we are working on, we have to make sure that we are always safe.
Sure.
We are always on the safer side.
But you can make out, somebody is trying to attack you. You can figure out. Is it?
Yeah, that is what we are looking for.
Tushar, tell us, some of the recent security innovations from an identity perspective to secure the future of hybrid cloud and GenAI.
Yeah. So few of the recent innovations that are happening in this space is around the decentralized identity. We all know about the centralized identity, right? Where everything is stored. Somebody like Aadhaar, we know that UIDA is storing our Aadhaar card information. It is secure there, right? But now with the data leakages happening around, we almost every day keep on hearing that this company got hacked, the data got leaked, right? Now what paradigm shift is happening is there is a decentralized identity concept where the user owns his own digital identity, right? For example, if I walk into let's say I walk in to apply for a job, right? I don't have to present my physical documents of my mark sheet or everything, right? I just have to present the digital credential, right? And then behind the scenes, it will check if it is come from a authenticated university and all of that, right? So I don't share any details. I just say that this is my digital identity and I own that. I make sure that that digital identity on my device is protected using my biometric. So nobody else can access that except me, right? So that is how I'm going to protect my digital identity, and I take the complete ownership. I manage that, right? And then there is, and behind the scenes, there will be blockchain technology which will be used, right? Which basically has the ledger concepts, which will make sure that, let's say if I present my educational certificates, the respective university is contacted and they will validate it that yes, Tushar is graduated from this particular engineering background or engineering college, right? So that is the shift that is happening now with end users owning their own digital identity. That is one. Second innovation that is happening is around quantum safe. Libesh, Mahen spoke about it, right? Briefly. So we all know encryption. We spoke about ransomware attack. We said encryption, you apply encryption, it is safe. Now going forward with quantum computing, encryption will also be broken, right? So when that happens, are you ready for it? So what IBM has done is IBM has come up with a solution which will help you to give the visibility in terms of which are those crypto libraries which will need the encryption algorithm to be changed, right? It will give you that visibility that, hey, these are the crypto libraries in your organization where encryption is weak, and you need to change that with this encryption algorithm so that you're prepared. Because when that comes, you need to be prepared, because everything today, in fact, when we do a UPI transaction or when we do any kind of digital transaction, it's everything going through that channel, right? Imagine now if that is broken using quantum, everything is at stake, right? So this will help you to safeguard against that. One, getting visibility, and then applying encryption algorithms against it, strong encryption algorithms against it. The third innovation is happening in the space of GenAI, which we already spoke, right? GenAI is getting infused into each and every solution today, right? Which is helping you to do automation, advanced analytics, summarization, all of that, right? So I think those are the innovations that we are doing in terms of the security, Sujit.
Okay, users owning their own digital identity, searching for encryption algorithms that are weak, and now GenAI. Mahen, you want to add to anything that you find people working on newer areas?
No, the same, almost covered by Tushar. It's
Tushar?
about how you deep go into each and balance each other, right? Because as I mentioned, you cannot have a very good end-to-end encryption and you're losing at just sharing that password, right? Though whatever encryption it is using. So it's about a balancing on all the way and to bring those controls. And if the control fail, what's an compensating control, right? Means it's not always, you cannot rely always on AI or Gen AI, right? So what if AI fail? Okay, what's my next strategy? So it's all about the strategy, how you think about the known and unknown risk. Okay, that comes to your previous thing, right? Because we don't know what next, which is an unknown, and we know some of the known. So how to balance between that known and unknown risk? That's a balance which we have to carry forward.
Balancing.
I have a question for Tushar. Tushar, regarding that quantum space, I mean, you're saying that the encryption can be broken. So what if I encrypt? What if I renew my encryption key at regular intervals? Does that help?
That, yeah, but the algorithm itself is going to be broken, right? So even if you renew, right? So basically what we're talking here is about the public and the private key, especially that is getting impacted. The one where you're encrypting the data at rest, that is not getting impacted because that's at a very, that is having, I think, 256-bit encryption, right? But the one we are talking about, the public and the private key exchange that happens, right, which is a certificate renewal, that is the one that is going to be broken using quantum. It is already broken. I think it's already, as Mahen said, right, quantum computing is going to do that. So that is where we will have compensating controls to make sure those weak algorithms are getting replaced with the stronger encryption algorithm.
Okay.
Hey, Akhil? Akhil, you're muted.
Akhil, you're muted.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. No, we're out of time, Sujit.
Yeah, maybe everybody can. I mean, yeah, I know we're a couple of minutes beyond time. But Tushar, Libesh, Mahen, your final concluding words to our listeners. Also, you can also talk about the cybersecurity, skill opportunity while you are concluding. I think there's a lot of demand possibly emerging for the cybersecurity skills and maybe how that is changing.
Correct. So I'll quickly cover, I know we are overrun by 3 minutes, but quickly for the audience who are interested in cybersecurity, I would say two of the hottest trends today in the market is generative AI and cybersecurity, right? Really the hottest trends today. I would say the people who are aspiring to be in this domain, right? Earlier, there used to be a time when you're done engineering in computer science or maybe data science or maybe information security or IT used to be in this, right? But I'm seeing nowadays it doesn't matter, right? As long as you want to be in cybersecurity, you do those relevant certifications like Security Plus, CISSP, CISA, all of those, CSAM, right? All of those is important. What I would suggest is, because cybersecurity is a very vast domain, right? It's an ocean in itself. There are various domains. What I would suggest is you pick and choose one domain, build your expertise around that. Keep your primary expertise as one domain. For example, you can keep your primary expertise around identity and access management and build the secondary expertise maybe around data security or network security or security operations center, right? Those are the things that you need to start, but you need to, or cloud security. I think cloud security is also in lot demand, right? So because security is such a vast domain, you need to decide based on your interest which is the domain that you want to do specialization. Because I can tell you specialization is the way forward, even for humans like us, right? We generally prefer to go to a generalist doctor only when we have cold and fever. But if you have a heart problem or something special like a special problem, you definitely want to go to a specialist and not a generalist, right? So I would suggest that build that specialty in one domain which is of interest to you, and there is a lot of opportunities, I can tell you, in cybersecurity.
Exactly, and we are in need of good people as.
Absolutely.
But do it by passion. Means you need to see your interest. I won't prefer somebody that I have nothing to do and there are jobs open in cybersecurity, so I land up. There are other things also, but if somebody who is really passionate, and this industry, we really need it. We need.
Libesh?
We need the skilled people.
So same thing. I mean, learn and keep learning. We have to stay current with the trends because the security landscape that evolves rapidly. So if there are any people, there are people who wants to learn cybersecurity, stay updated on the latest threats, vulnerabilities, technologies by following blogs, webinars like this helps. So that's it.
No, absolutely. I keep saying, our crime reporters now, the number of these kinds of stories that they are bringing to the newspaper, it's gone up significantly, especially after COVID and all that. And with GenAI and all that, I guess it's becoming easier to fool people with the kind of voices and videos and images. So I think, absolutely. As with all this digital thing happening, cybersecurity is becoming a huge concern and a huge opportunity for everybody. So if you're passionate about, for those who are looking for good jobs and all of that, if you're passionate about cybersecurity, as Tushar said, specialization is the way forward. So thanks a lot, Tushar, Libesh, Mahen. Really nice having you on this platform. Very important subject. Hope to see you again some other time.
Thank you very much, Sujit. And
thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Akhil.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mahen.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Mahen. Thanks, Tushar.
Thank you.